Hello every pony, here comes another short story. I just read the description on FilmFiction. It's one-parter, and I laughed so hard when I read the description that I thought you just have to do this. The story is actually called Sweety Belle Discovers Scissoring and is written by Gary Oak. So let's begin. Sweety Belle discovers scissoring. Rarity leaned forward, the steam from her teacup tickling her coat. "Oh, come on, Twilight, darling. You simply must try it." Twilight Sparkle shook her head while taking a sip of her own tea. The Earl Nay burned lightly as it went down her throat, but it was not scalding. Rarity always made tea just right. Rarity rested her cheek on a forehoof and huffled slightly through flared nostrils. "I don't see why not. At first I was reluctant, but Pinkie Pie—" "How many ciders did that take?" Rarity would have blanched if her hide was not already white. "I'll have you know, I had nothing to drink that night," she said, recoiling with wide eyes. "We merely shared a quiet night," Twilight giggled. "Quiet for Pinkie, anyway." Over a few glasses of her berry punch. Her special berry punch? Twilight's wings snapped open, and the blue drapes on her right stirred from the breeze. "Her super special berry punch?" Rarity nodded almost mechanically. She fidgeted her hoofs as she held her teacup beside her, but did not take a sip. "I thought so." Twilight took another sip, nodding saggily. "You do realize there's something in there besides fruit juice and sugar, right?" Rarity's teacup nearly hit the table, but she managed to guide it back to its saucer without spilling a drop. She wouldn't." Twilight drew upward, rustling the front of her mane. "She did." "Oh, I should have known," Rarity wailed, leaning melodramatically back in her chair. "Pinkie took advantage of me." Her limbs spasmed rigidly. "How dare she? I was so innocent, so vulnerable, so naive, like a delicate spring flower. I... Twilight gestured a forehoof toward Rarity in a circling motion. "Enjoyed it?" "Yes." Rarity's shoulders sagged. "But she seemed just so endearing and convincing. How could I refuse?" Twilight's wings folded, then ruffled. She took another sip. "It's Pinkie Pie." Rarity slumped in a most unladylike manner. "I suppose you're right." A pregnant pause filled the air, with only Twilight and Rarity barely audible slurps of steadily cooling tea breaking the silence. "So, about my proposal," Rarity said minutes later. "I said no." Twilight's teacup clinked as she set it down. "I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. I'm flattered that you offered, but—" "You never know until you give it a try." Rarity bit her lower lip. I just wanted to scissor with you, just once." She put on her best pouty face, an expression normally reserved for her more dire situations. "Please?" The chair beneath Twilight's flank scraped on the floor as she stood up. "I'm sure you'd make a great partner for scissoring, but I'm not that kind of filly. Why don't you ask Rainbow Dash? I'm sure she'd love to give it a try, if she hasn't done it a lot already." Rarity blinked. "You're kidding, right? Have you ever seen her house? I lost count of the number of Sorin posters I had to sift through when I helped her redecorate Lost Autumn." Twilight clapped the forehoof on Rarity's shoulder. "I'm sure you'll find some pony else in no time." She closed her eyes and gave her a sweet smile. "Now I really must be going. I've got a whole hoof full of friendship reports to write up." "Darling, you could write a report on scissoring." "For the last time, no," Twilight said before teleporting outside the Carousel Boutique's kitchen and taking off into the direction of Golden Oak's library. Rarity's ears dropped. But oh, now who will I scissor with? Perhaps I'll have to see if Pinkie's busy tonight." "Did some pony say scissoring?" Pinkie burst forth from the cupboard under the sink. "Sounds like fun." Sweety Belle stood behind the closed kitchen door with her ear pressed up against it, scratching her muzzle. Why would Rarity be so worked up about this? It must be really fun. She sprang into the air. "I know. I can get my cutie mark in scissoring, and I know just the pony who can help." Sweety Belle galloped towards Sweet Apple Acres at full tilt, her mane flapping in the wind. It did not take her long to reach the farm, where she soon saw Applejack hauling buckets containing myriads of apples into the barn. Applejack mopped her brow with her hat when she spotted Sweety. "Howdy, Sweety Belle. What can I do you for?" "Is Apple Bloom home? I just got this great idea for us to get our cutie marks." Unable to contain her excitement, Sweety Belle hopped up and down, and her eyes darted everywhere in search of her friend. Applejack chuckled and gently placed a forehoof on Sweety's head, in hopes of stopping her bouncing. "Settle down there, partner. Abby's working the fields with Big Mac until just past lunchtime." She grinned down at the hyperactive Sweety. So if you don't mind me asking, what's the big idea for them getting your cutie marks this time? Smiling proudly, Sweety puffed out her chest and held her forehead into the air. Scissoring, she proclaimed. Applejack's eyes grew as white as dinner plates. Say what? Scissoring. I heard you the first time. Applejack stomped the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. What you doing thinking about that sort of thing at your age? Rarity will know about this before sundown, mark my words. Unsure of what she did wrong, Sweety traced a forehead on the ground. Actually, she gave me that idea. Applejack recoiled so violently that her head flew into the air. Your own sister? What in tarnation? She stood there for several seconds, her face quivering and her chest heaving. All right, I ain't no mother or sister of yours, but you need to leave and go to your room until you've thought long and hard about this. No sister of mine's going to be scissoring until long after she's gotten her cutie mark. Go on, scat. Bewildered, Sweety shuffled backwards until Applejack had returned to her chores, and then she tracked towards Rainbow Dash's house. Rainbow! Rainbow Dash! Hey, Rainbow! Are you up there? Sweety looked up at Rainbow's cloud house. There was no answer. Just as she turned to leave, she heard a familiar squeaky voice. Hey, kid! She looked up and saw Rainbow circling above her. Rainbow touched down in front of her. What's up? Applejack yelled at me. Sweety's ears wilted like flowers that had gone too long without water. How come? Rainbow arched an eyebrow and flared her wings. That's not like her. Well, maybe you could help me. Sweety looked into Rainbow's eyes with hope. Twilight did mention you when she was talking about this. Rainbow pointed to herself. Well, I'm awesome. So what is it? Ball bouncing? Elastic training? Being the coolest pony in Equestria? Sweety cleared her throat. Actually, it's scissoring. Rainbow froze. I overheard Rarity talking about how great it was, so I wanted to try it out. Maybe I could get my cutie mark in scissoring along with Applebloom and Scootaloo. Rainbow chuckled and patted Sweety on the head. Believe it or not, that stuff ain't for me. And it ain't for you either. She ruffled Sweety's mane, but Sweety did not mind the noogie. At least, not yet. Maybe when you're older. But why do I have to wait? Why can't I start scissoring now? Rainbow shook her head. Look, kid. I think I'm the wrong pony to ask about this sort of thing. Maybe I should just ask Rarity if she would scissor with me. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun for us to do. Sweety grinned. Fun sister activities? Fun sister? Rainbow's jaw dropped. Oh, would you look at that? I've got a ton of weather things to do. You know, skies to clear, clouds to kick. She chuckled uneasily before taking off into the cloudless sky. A lump formed in Sweety's throat. Why is it so hard to get any pony to talk about this? She stomped off towards the carousel boutique. I guess I'll have to scissor by myself. Sweety crept through Rarity's room, taking care to make as little noise as possible. Rarity's eye cover would guarantee she would not be spotted, but her sister could be a light sleeper on occasion. Now where does she keep the key? Sweety thought as she used her horn to illuminate the room as brightly as she dared. She knew Rarity always kept her storeroom key close at hoof in case inspiration struck in the middle of the night. Sweety perused her left dresser, finding a few ornament magazines atop it. When she looked in the drawers, she only saw a few odd cylindrical objects of varying size, shape, and color. Sweety turned her attention to the right dresser, checking the drawers first. Both were full of used and unused sheets of paper and dozens of pencils. It must be here. She dug through a large stack of Fleur's secret catalogues before she found what she had come for. Stifling a gleeful shout, Sweety snatched the key and struggled to keep her pace measured as she reached the door. When she closed it behind her, a few magazines toppled softly onto their owner. Sweety cantered towards the storeroom, clutching the key in her mouth. When she arrived, it took only a few moments of fiddling before the door swung open soundlessly. Her horn's glow shed light on the neatly stacked boxes sorted by fabric, type, and color. She briefly scanned the room, searching for the fabrics that would probably feel the best. Settling on silk, she slid the top off a case of hot pink fabric. A long sheet floated towards Sweety at her command, coming to rest just in front of her forehoofs. Now, where are they? She turned her attention to a heavy set of drawers on the wall, opening each one and peering inside. In the third one, she found what she sought. Aha! Sweety's forehoof clutched a long pair of scissors. She brandished them at the fabric, snipping at the air experimentally. Now to see what all the fuss is about. The first cut Sweety made was hesitant, almost shy. It felt just like it always had when Rarity asked her to help cut material when she had large dress orders. Except she felt a little guilty doing it without permission at midnight. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Sweety made more cuts, going faster this time. She looked at her flank. Aw, still blank. What if... She began shredding the silk with reckless abandon, shearing off sections big and small in the most erratic manner she could. This is kind of fun. Before long, the room looked as if opalescence had been trapped inside for a week and decided to vent her frustration on some of Rarity's finest salmon-colored silk. Sweety took a moment to survey the destruction she had wrought. Still nothing. Why is scissoring such a hot topic then? She looked at the other boxes of stored fabric. I guess I need to try with different kinds? Sweety had scarcely opened a case of cyan-colored minky when the last voice she had wanted to hear in Equestria came bellowing from behind her. Vandals! The scissors flew from Sweety's grasp as they impaled themselves on the floor as she leapt high into the air. Rarity, Rarity, it's me! Rarity blinked, staring first at Sweety, then the scissors, and the ruined silk strewn about the place. What happened, darling? Where's the vandal? Did you get him? Rarity. Sweety could not meet her sister's gaze. It was me. I did it. You did? Rarity clapped her forehoofs to her muzzle. But why? Because I heard you and Twilight talking about scissoring yesterday, and I wanted to try it. Beads of sweat appeared on Rarity's face, which went a brilliant shade of magenta. You heard that? Sweety nodded. Oh dear. She slumped backwards, putting all her weight on her haunches. Scissoring does not mean to cut, dear. It means... Sweety leaned forward. What? What does it mean? More blood rushed into Rarity's cheeks. How do I put this? It means... I'd love to tell you, but it's a secret, came Pinky's chirpy voice from behind them. Rarity bolted upright. Pinky! Pinky hopped between Rarity and Sweety. What? We did arrange for another scissoring party, right? Well, I checked my super-duper partyific watch, and what you know? It said it's party time. Pinky, dear, that thing always says it's party time. Rarity's head drooped. Pinky giggled. I know. That's why it's so super-duper. Sweety raised a hoof. So, wait a minute. You only do it with ponies you really like, right? Pinky winked. You betcha. It's a fun game for us older mares only. Don't worry, I promise it'll be one of the super fun games at your graduation party. But that's years away. Rarity rested a hoof on Sweety's shoulder. The wait will be worth it, dear. It's something mares do with other mares when they have a special connection. Oh! Sweety hugged Rarity and nuzzled against her. So I can scissor with you when I'm all grown up. Rarity went rigid as a board. What? Not noticing her sister's change in posture, Sweety noted emphatically. When I'm a grown-up mare, I'll scissor with you, and it'll be super special and... Rarity nudged Sweety away. No, darling, you don't do it with family. But you just said it had to be with a special some ponies. Sweety pouted with uncanny similarity to her sister. Yes, but not family. Rarity shook her head and made a cutting motion with her forehoof. The apples on their other hoof may sink differently, but that's not the norm. Sweety perked up. Oh, I know. I'll just ask Scootaloo. Great idea. Pinky nodded. I'm sure Dashy will give her a few pointers once she's old enough. Rarity arched an eyebrow. With all those Sorin posters? Her hoofs shuffled on the ground as she tried to hold back a gale of laughter. Pinky, darling, you just have no idea. You do know her walls are clouds, right? Pinky spoke through her forehoofs, which stifled merriment of her own. She has stuff on her walls, too. Big, neat, that fits perfectly in her walls. Are we talking about her pastimes or her interior decoration? Pinky shrugged. I don't know. I think she spends a lot of time decorating her interior, especially with ponies like you. It doesn't make a lot of difference. She winked at Rarity. During this exchange, Sweety had sat down, scratching her head. I don't get it. Pinky hopped around Rarity and Sweety on her seemingly spring-loaded hoofs. Wait till you're older. If you're anything like Rarity, you'll get into it in a few years. A lot of it. Pinky! Sweety leapt into the air, flailing her forelegs. You guys, the two mares stared at her in silence. You still haven't told me what scissoring is. What's the big secret? Oh! Peony leaned forward until her muzzle was up against Sweety Belle's ear. It's... She whispered a vivid and detailed description of scissoring to her. Sweety's jaw dropped lower and lower as Pinky explained. When Pinky had finished, Sweety scampered backward and yelled, "Eh!" Before Rarity could comfort her, Sweety bolted past her, screaming at the top of her lungs. Rarity rubbed her temples. Pinky? Yes? You know that special punch of yours? Yeah? Rarity took a deep breath. I'm going to have to round her up and calm her down. After this is over, I think I'll need a nice, big cup. Okie dokie Loki! Something shattered somewhere in the boutique. It sounded expensive. Rarity winced. On second thought, make that 3. Okay, every pony, I must admit, I never ever expected this. It's the first time I read that fic, and after cutting, it will most likely be half the size it is now, because I did not know the term scissoring. Okay, so after I read the description, I imagined everything, but not this. Really? I'm just so amused right now. If you could see me, my grin goes from ear to ear. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony.